It's Dad. I know. You're wondering. Anyway, I'm going to make my fabulous chili today. And we have everything written down, but we're going to do a video just so you can see those awesome techniques and whatnot that it takes to make Dad's chili exactly the way it should be made. So we got our ingredients over here. Like I said, we're listing them so you don't have to memorize them or write it down from the video. But we'll try to make the video fairly short, but there are certain things that you need to see as I'm doing it so you kind of get that technique. All right? See you in a few. All right. First step is we got to have a 7-quart Dutch oven. The other one we used was 6 quarts. So 6 quarts, 7 quart, but anything less than that, you're gonna have chili kind of pouring over the side, which is not good. So we got that on the stove. It's not on yet, but you got to start prepping the onion. So we're gonna mince the onion. Basically what I do is just take off the top and then slice the side so I can peel that first layer off. And then what I'll do is start cutting. I'll cut long slices this way, long slices this way, without going all the way through. And then when you turn it on its side and start cutting, it'll be minced.
I'm going to say, I would say it's chopped, not minced.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's Mom's 2 cents.
Okay, we're going to chop our onion. So, basically what I'm going to do is, you can see this, you know, again, not cut all the way through, but most of the way. And so I'm cutting down, but I'm not going all the way through. And you got to watch your fingers, because that could get ugly. And then turn it sideways and cut across the grain. Again, not all the way through, but enough to, when you do start cutting sideways, it just basically, you don't have to then keep cutting the onion over and over again. So, you all ready? Just got to be careful. And the Ginsu knife works awesome. Yeah, get a really sharp, sword-edged knife, and watch your fingers, because it is going to get dicey. Okay.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. When I get down to this level, then it becomes more trying to cut all the way through sideways, follow me here, and then turn those and do this. They will not be uniform size, I'll give you that. No, that's pretty much it. Okay. So that's our onion. Okay, next step is, now don't start the Dutch oven until you have this done, because you're gonna have to throw the oil's gonna heat up fairly quickly. And you'll find yourself burning the oil. All right, I didn't have all my ingredients. I'll figure out this. Okay. Olive oil, what I try to do is cover 3/4 of the bottom. Okay, try to get enough oil in there to cover, like I said, 3/4 of the thing. It'll now start to spread out, but that's usually where I start. So I got the heat on 8 out of 10. You want to heat it up. You just don't want it starting to burn before you get the onions in there. What I usually put in is garlic pepper into the oil. Measured exactly. A lot of shakes, how's that? But you'll start to smell that as it starts to heat up. Then dump the onions in. Okay. Things are starting to kind of move, and you can see it start to react with the olive oil heating up. So there you go. You can hear it sizzle. So get all the onions in there. Get them all coated with the oil. Done cooked. Like I said, while that's kind of pop it open, drain it as best you can without losing the tomatoes. And you're not going to get all of it out. If you don't do this, you're going to be trying to heat this chili over and over, over and over and over, trying to steam off all that moisture. So if you can get it, if you don't put in as much, you don't have to go through all that. So you get the 3 cans of petite diced tomatoes and the 2 Rotel original. You might lose a little tomato parts, but okay. You also make a big mess. You know. Okay, the Rotels don't have the little switch, so that's fairly easy. Watching my onions. You're getting a little brown on the bottom and that kind of thing. Okay. This, stand back because you got water and oil hitting at the same time. So, but if you can get them in there fast, you won't get as much oil splashing. Looks like a lot of tomatoes until once this thing gets going, you don't really, it's not as much tomatoes as you think. Yeah, keep the heat up. That's really the key, is if you can see, look at all the moisture. There's still a lot of moisture even though you drain the cans. So my objective now is almost once it's that stage, is to turn it up even higher. Try to burn off a good amount of this water, because otherwise it'll just be watery chili. And like I said, you probably have to do it later. So, but if you bring that to, for lack of a term, bring it to a boil when it really starts to move and you're losing all the moisture. Okay. As you can see, this thing is boiling now and you're getting a lot of steam off. Just keep that going. Again, it depends on the level of moisture. There's a lot of moisture in this. I'm not saying dry it out, but at the same time, it'd be nice to, because you're going to end up adding moisture with the beans, sauce going in, the open pit, the salsa, the ketchup. All that's going to add moisture. So don't panic if this thing seems to be boiling away and steaming up. So I'm going to start the meat. The first time you make this, you might not want to do this. You might want to wait until we've done the salsa and done the spices and that kind of thing, and then worry about that while that's kind of staying thing. But I usually do the 2 at the same time. So we'll see how this goes. As you can tell, it's boiling away. Okay, a little olive oil, not a ton. Crank this puppy up to 7 or 8. Okay, this might be a little bit hyperactive. Now, what you'll find is the thing starts getting really, it's boiling, and when you start to stir it, the tomatoes seem to be wanting to stick to the bottom. At that point, you're like, okay, need to crank this thing back down so that they don't. Even though there's a lot of moisture in here, the tomatoes are so heavy, they're sitting on the bottom, and you don't want those to stick or burn. The turkey I put in after the burger starts to cook. Because once the burger starts to cook, you're getting all that fat in there. So you can then, the turkey doesn't have much fat, if any. And so try to break it up as you put it in. I mean, you can only do so much of that. But if you can get it broken up, with a little olive oil, that'll start the cooking process. You start to get the fat coming up. And then once the fat, you'll see in a couple of minutes as the hamburger starts to cook. At that point, I want to throw the turkey in, so it's cooking in the fat. That is still boiling away. This is 2.25, according to the instructions, pounds of hamburger. So you you don't want to get it sounds healthy, to get the 93% lean, but there's no fat in that, and it's just dry. You need the fat, especially if you're going to put turkey in here. So, okay, let's get that going. Stir this before, yeah, you can feel it wanting to stick. So that's good. I mean, if you see, the moisture is disappearing. I'm not sure if that burner really is the best. Okay. Wash your hands. Playing with hamburger. And it usually cooks if I put the cover, which I've lost, on. So we can get that going. Once this starts to cook and we got fat and bubbling and that kind of thing, piece by piece I'll throw in the turkey. With this, what we want to do now is go ahead and add the cans of beans. Look at that. You see how much we've lost a lot of the water, which is good. Yeah. And this burner, I'm not sure it even listens to what it's programmed for. But okay, this is one of the most important things. Is there's a lot of sauce in these cans, and it seems like you're wasting a lot of the thing, but trust me, there's so much moisture in that it'll be soupy chili. So we're kind of in the habit of just go ahead and let it drain for a little bit. As you can see, it comes out fast and then it just starts to dribble. When you get down to the dribble, and then put it in. So you have all the taste of the beans, but you don't have all that moisture. See, kind of thing. And like I said, I'm sure that would feed kids in China or something. But we're not worried about that right now. Just saying. Okay. And like I said, that thing's going to be boiling away, so let's get it all mixed in. Mixed in good. And that should cool this whole thing down. It's going to have to come back up to a boil. So let's get that going. And you hear the hamburger starting to cook. He's sizzling. You make a mess of your counter, because that's essential. Not enough fat yet. The spatula for flipping over the burger. We're not just tricking loam. Don't worry about breaking it up yet. There's plenty of time for that. Key is to get it starting to cook. And you can play with it a little bit. Get the pink cooked. Yeah. Flatten it out first. We'll let that go. Again, the key word will be stirring for the rest of the day. And now we're going to add, I'll say our wet ingredients first. And we'll come back for that. And we're back. Okay. The burger's coming along. As I said, what I've tried to do is keep stirring inside. It's producing all that fat, which is great. So I'll give it one more kind of trying to get the pink on the bottom, so those pieces cook. And then I'll add the turkey. If you have a good sized counter, that'll help. So little pieces as best you can, because they get difficult to break up once they cook. There's no flexibility. They don't crumble like hamburger does. So the smaller you can get it when you put it in, I just move it around, the better. And that would be perfect. But you just if you drop this whole thing in, it would just cook, and then you'd be hacking it, trying to put it into little pieces. And it comes out white, which is kind of bizarre. It's a long process. All right. Getting there. Okay. Wash my hands again. So between all that fat and mixing it up and so forth, that should cook. Try to get those pieces on the bottom. Cooking the fat. And like I said, every time you do this, you can take a shot at kind of breaking up the big pieces, but right now, the key is just to get the turkey down there so it cooks. Cover, sear, put that on, let it go. Okay, now we're gonna do, again, stir, make sure it's not sticking. We're gonna do the wet ingredients. Okay, this is where you pay attention because it's vital, because I don't know how to measure this. So what I usually do with Pitt is, let's get it started, just kind of do the once around. I know that doesn't sound like, that's not science, but there you go. Next thing is, make sure your ketchup is all, because the ketchup end up being 99% water when it comes out. Okay, ketchup, same kind of thing, maybe just a little bit like that, whatever that added up to. Look at that. Salsa, be generous. Let's see, watch that, you got this? Okay, here goes. That's a good, I mean, that was probably maybe, what, a third of this bottle. Yeah. And if you overdo it, you're not going to regret it. I mean, it'll work out. Okay. Worcestershire sauce is about, if you picture shaking it across the top, that'll do it. And the last thing is your balsamic, less than Worcestershire, but still, don't be shy. How's that? So we get those all stirred in, and the next process, what I like to do in between, every time you add something like this, is let it try to come back to that boil. You know, let it cook in, let it start, moving the taste around into everything and that kind of thing. And it will take some time. As you can see, we got plenty of this grease cooking the turkey, which is great. We got a couple of places of isolated pink that we need to get rid of. So now's the time to use the spatula and really try to cut them down to the smallest pieces, okay? Now, I will say something, and you'll see it soon. You don't want to cook this thing to the point where the hamburger starts turning like extremely well done, But now, if I can get these pieces down to smaller pieces, you see some of the turkey's still pink. So let's try to do our best to kind of work our way across the skittle. But some of these pieces are, you can tell the hamburger is done. So get rid of the pink. And as you can see, you get rid of the pink already just by breaking it up, getting it into the grease. And let's do its thing. Don't worry that every little piece of hamburger isn't, because once you put it in there and stir for an hour, trust me, it'll start breaking out. Okay, well, if you look at that, I'm not seeing any, or very little pink. Again, it's going to be cooking in the chili for an hour, so, okay. Let's kill the heat. And this is where you need a slotted spoon. What I usually do is hoist this puppy up, get the grease all to come down. Don't let the grease go in, and then just take it off here with your slotted spoon. Really, you really don't want to add a lot of this. Get this grease in your chili. Kind of nasty, And so and then put the grease in some container that'll freeze that you can throw away. There's a lot of grease in this hamburger. That's okay. As long as it stays in the pan. Okay, we'll finish this up and then come back and continue. Hey, we're back. We got the hamburger and the turkey out of the frying pan and into the chili. So we're just going to stir that around. If you noticed, I got it on medium now because you really, once you start adding this burger and turkey to it, this starts to thicken. And if you don't watch out or you have the burner too high, it'll start burning on the bottom. And as you scrape the bottom, you're like, uh-oh, you know, things are starting to stick. So you don't want that to happen, but you still want enough heat. As you can see, it's hot, you know, it's steaming. So we'll get that totally mixed up and then add our spices. And from then on, I think we're in the home stretch of just a good hour plus of, you know, keeping it on a decent temperature and constantly stirring and stirring and stirring. And like I said, through that whole process, these big chunks of hamburger will start to, well, one of two things will happen to the hamburger, the big chunks. One is they'll break up into smaller pieces. The other is Dad will put a spoon in and eat them. Okay, I'm just saying, you know, shocker. Yeah, that's why you never find big pieces of hamburger in my chili, because I've eaten them. Okay, we're in the final stretch here. We have our chili, got the burger and the turkey in there. It's time for the spices. Okay. Cumin. Yes, I actually take the cover off. Okay, I don't use a sprinkle for cumin. Okay, ground cumin. And if you watch this, it's kind of go around the horn, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to, that's a lot. Okay, that's ground cumin. You got chili powder, same kind of thing, around the horn. Okay. Garlic powder, garlic pepper. We already used it when we made the turkey and the hamburger. I mean, the onions, sorry. So that to me is just a final sprinkle. Onion powder, same kind of thing. I'm using the sifter, so yeah, generous sprinkle, but a sprinkle nonetheless. Okay. And then last is garlic powder, same kind of thing. This is probably heavier, you know, around the horn slowly. That's it. Okay. So that takes care of the spices. Again, we'll stir it. And then the last piece of the puzzle is going to be our fake sugar, whatever that is called. And well, let's get this thing just kind of stirred up, get the spices everywhere, give it a little bit. See the steam? Now imagine if we left all that liquid in there. We'd have to be boiling this for like 3 days to get rid of all that excess liquid. And even though we did that, there's still, you know, there's still a good amount of liquid in there. So it's not like we deprived it, but it's just a lot easier to start that way. Okay, we'll come back and put our sugar in. Okay, we're gonna put sugar, or fake sugar, for no calorie sweetener, I guess. You got Splenda and you got stevia in the raw. So I've used both of them. Historically, I've used the Splenda more often, but I think there was a time where this was the only thing I could find. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it as I usually do. This is I can't even read this. A 1/4 cup, little spoon. So let's do that. We're going to do a 1/4 cup and literally just kind of move it around. You know, so it's everywhere. It'll all mix in, but that'll take the bite, I think, off the tomatoes and the acid, that kind of thing. Whether that's true or not, who knows, but I think it adds a good, it kind of cuts the harshness, if that makes sense. So let's get that stirred around. And just to be sure, I'm going to take out my ingredient list to make sure I put everything in. So that's not where it is. So we had our tomatoes and bush beans and Vidalia, onion, ground beef, ground turkey, yellow pit, salsa, black pepper. Aha! See, there's always something. Yeah. So I'm gonna open this up. Not the so I can pour it. And this is potent. So we're not going to have a huge, it's almost like a straight line, if that makes sense. As opposed to going around the horn and filling up the whole thing, it's more of a, just shake it for a straight line. So, okay, garlic pepper we did, onion powder, garlic powder, chili powder, cumin, Worcestershire ketchup, crushed red pepper. Yeah, see, you gotta come back to your list. And if I can find it, I saw it the other day. There it is. Okay, this goes a long way. Okay, so what I would say is just gonna do one of those, shaky, not overly, because it'll come back to bite you. Balsamic vinegar, sugar substitute. Then we get into the ingredients that we're going to use on your tacos or on your nachos and on your chili bowl and that kind of thing. So that's a personal preference. Yeah. Okay, so the end of the spices, we mix those around. The next step is going to be pure patience, which I don't know what. That's Mama. Anyways, is stirring. So we'll bring the heat down to about 3 or 4. You'll notice if it's too hot, you'll find yourself stirring this thing constantly and never taking a break, and having the stuff start to stick at the bottom. But we're going to try closer to 4 to start out with. So you stir it, leave it alone, let it start to heat up and bubble and that kind of thing. Keep stirring. Just keep stirring it for the better part, if not more, of an hour. All right. So, like I said, we got it on 4-ish. It's steaming and so forth. It's time to stir. So, basically, what you want to do is put the cover on so it still vents. Again, we're trying to get rid of as much of the moisture as possible. Again, we tend to use it as nachos as opposed to chili. But let it steam. Don't start to you'll get a timing going. You'll realize that you can leave it for a minute and then come back, or 30 seconds, or whatever that timing is. And if it's 2, you're coming back every 10 seconds and it's sticking to the ground. Obviously you got it too high, so turn it down. So, but this process, this is where I toss it over to Mama, because I got no patience for this. And roughly an hour, give or take, of that constant stirring. So you're gonna have to invite Mama over for vacation when you make this. Well, here's to hoping your chili comes out as fabulous as Dad's always does. I hope this helps. So.